Helldivers 2.0 revival is real. Let's take a look.
There is no energy that can beat that of "we're so back," and that's why it's time to talk about Helldivers 2, because in a way you could say that they just managed to undo 7 months of brutal PR damage and scathing player sentiment.
Yeah, I remember. I was honestly here, and I think I'm still part of the negative review right now. Basically what happened, short story, or maybe he's gonna talk about it too. But it's all comes down to Sony requiring everyone that has the game to have the account rated, like linked to the game. And turns out that you cannot have the Sony account, or you cannot create one in like more than half the world or something like that. So a lot of people just could not access the game anymore. Oh, yeah. All right, let's get into the video.
Because if you were not a tuned-in player to this game, you're a fair-weather fan that only see the biggest headlines, you would think that what they just did was a single patch,
like some bouncing as well.
Marketing campaign, and suddenly the game is better. But obviously, it is
I
not
love the
that. There is so much more that goes into the turnaround this game has experienced, such that I think it will be studied and should be studied by everyone else in live service. As I speak right now, Helldivers 2 is resurgent. It's in the top 5 sellers on Steam, worldwide.
Yeah, I've seen that too. It's crazy.
And its player counts are the highest they have been since May of 2024.
It's basically before, or like right after the whole thing happened.
With sentiment absolutely soaring. Yeah. And what it took to do this is hard work, but it's actually more than just hard.
Yeah, there's some like balancing issues as well, I heard. Like a lot of the guns, they were strong against things. They just nerfed it. The developers nerfed it, even though it's a PvE game. And what's the point of nerfing it if you just like every gun's just a PvP shooter after that, and there's no point in playing. So a lot of players were like quitting because of that as well. At least from what I heard.
Hard work, because this team did not see bad news and then panic. They didn't flinch, cancel their team's summer holidays, I suppose robbing Peter to pay Paul, or however the saying goes, and crunch the whole
vacation
thing out.
Yeah.
No, what they actually did was brave. It took time. They did the unglamorous, unsexy work that didn't result in massive trailers and big back-of-the-box features. But because they did that, now that the time is actually right and they've hit the big red button that says it is time for the third faction, well, their hard work means that that button has absolutely landed. So let's dive in, and this democratic update is supported by today's sponsor, which is actually Path of Exile 2 by Grinding Gear Games. It, of course, is their new
really thinking about getting the game.
RPG that
it seems really nice, but if I get it, I'm going to spend like 200, 300 hours into it, and I'll lone life it. So I feel like I should just maybe do it after the game comes out.
Plays fresh. Because, look, you got a dodge
looks
roll,
really, really
the
nice.
tone of the combat,
and I think it's actually, sorry to pause the video, but if you look at the Steam charts right now, I think Steam released the most popular games in terms of revenue. It's called, no, that's not Steam Awards, something else. But if you click on it, Best of 2024, yes. So, year's top sellers. I believe the Path of Exile is in a gold category, which means it's at like top 20 most earned, they got the most money this year that are underneath it. It's really cool. They're within the same area as like Throne of Liberty, Dead by Daylight, and Shrouded, EA Sports, War Thunder, etc. And the ones above them, obviously, are Elden Ring, Helldivers, Pell World, Space Marine, Black Myth Wukong, Destiny 2, Counter-Strike, Dota, Black Ops 6, PUBG, actually, wow, interesting, and Baldur's Gate 3. So they're right behind those huge icons of gaming. So really cool. Really want to play it, but I think I'll choose just for now. And I heard they changed the controls. It's now WASD, which should feel amazing compared to like you having to click. Because when I was playing I'm sorry, I'm just going off topic. When I was playing Path of Exile 1, it's like my wrist was hurting a lot because I was just clicking so much, like to move left, right, like stand here, shoot there, etc.
People of Elden Ring and Dark Souls, and initially people thought, what, really? But actually playing it, no, it totally earns and deserves that. And that's the core reason why I'm actually loving it, because for me, so often I felt that the ARPGs turned into a super fast-paced loot treadmill that I just got kind of bored with. But here, it's the design and the pace of combat and the way that it's changing the formula that's actually gripped me. Especially the bosses, which I just think are basically by far the best in the genre so far. And big picture, you've got 6 classes in early access, each with 2 ascendancies, but by full release, that's 12 classes with 3 ascendancies each, which is a hell of a lot. And then skills.
That sounds nice.
This was a whole new sort of system to me, and I love it. You get skill gems, right? Over 120 in early access, 240 for full release. And the way that you can mix and match those just means that build crafting is like a genuinely brain-expanding experience. And then there are support gems that you socket into your skill gems to augment them and customize even more. And that just kind of explains
unfortunately,
all
I'm
of
not,
the clips of
I don't have the
crazy,
brain for that game,
awesome-looking builds
or I
that
didn't
can
spend
see.
like thousands of
On
hours
top
into
that
it.
was the over
So I just follow a guide.
point passive skill
But it still
tree with
plays really
dual
fun.
spec, which let's just say progressing through that thing is damn satisfying. And best of all, early access doesn't mean it's got a stripped down endgame. No, it's actually got a full-fledged endgame with 7 types of content, and by launch there will be a full 6-act campaign. And of course, it's grinding gear games.
I believe it's
which
first
basically
3
means you
acts,
can look at their
and then
track
you play the
record,
first 3
speaks
acts
for
again
itself
on the harder
when it goes
difficulty,
to
and then you get to
ongoing content
endgame.
support. This game is basically awesome.
I guess it's
and
kind of smart
recaptured
because
my
people
interest
stay
in
here
the
for
genre by
endgame. They
actually
don't want to do an
playing
entire like
different and being
6 act
more
of
daring.
campaign.
You can get started by following my link. Early access is $30, and that includes 300 points to spend in game. Of course, if you want even more shinies, there are larger supporter packs as well.
Really
And
cool,
a big thank you to Grinding Gear Games
really
for
cool,
supporting my team.
microtransactions
So with that
slash
said, let's get into the video.
customization things
To get you
in,
up to speed, our last Helldivers video was a status check following in on their 60-day plan to refocus the game. It was an interesting time. Sentiment was rising rapidly. Player counts were back, at least in the context of maybe June, July. They were avoiding the lows of the summer.
Okay, I mean that's still better, right? This is 25k. It went to like 50-ish, 45, 50, maybe 30 even. Still better, right?
But the cherry on top was this, the Democracy Space Station. It was effectively a slow burn narrative.
Oh yeah, I still haven't gotten into it. I don't know what's happened, so I'm actually gonna be playing Helldivers 2 right after this video. But I don't know what's going on here. I need to catch up on
brought
on
players on board. Now, it did launch to a little bit of a wobble. It turned out that the new super weapon was maybe a little bit too much of a super weapon and was leading to a lot of very tragic Helldiver deaths. Memes were made, Arrowhead quickly mended the situation, and with that, we were in a stable position where we just had, at least for the most dedicated players, a big narrative payoff. And shortly after that, the Steam Autumn Sale hit. And with that, Arrowhead were absolutely reaping the fruits of their labor. At the time, we saw a review spike that actually brought Helldivers back to its overwhelmingly positive recent reviews, which was great, but a lot of those were newer players. Actually, not all was well. You see, there was a tension with some of the most hardcore players in the game. Now, things absolutely were better. People were not angry in that way, but there was rebalanced equipment, and that felt new because of the new numbers and because it was fun to test opening up new gameplay options. But in a way, they soon realized the game had no gameplay. And when the Democratic Superstation came online, people almost expected, maybe some hopium, that the Illuminate, who are the third faction from Helldivers 1, would suddenly strike and take it down, leading to new content.
I guess that's where the resurgence is here.
It didn't. People just got a new stratagem, and that meant that the most hardcore players feared that new content would only land with the game's first anniversary and that they would have to live through a drought. Of course, they would be proven incorrect. Helldivers 2 won Best Multiplayer Game and Best Ongoing Game at the Game Awards, I think very much deserved based on just how responsive they were to the player feedback and how they turned things around. And right as that happened, they revealed, well, what was next?
Yeah, and it said it was coming today, like on the day. That was super
favorite
nice.
Super Earth propagandist. It was awesome, and we found out that the Illuminate had finally arrived, as had the first in-game vehicles. And it wasn't just announced.
It's like a Halo
It was shadow dropped. Here's basically what you need to know about all of that, and it's why I am absolutely returning to the game ASAP. So, all focus is on a single new planet. The existing major orders were overridden, and the in-universe threat level was raised to Libcon 1. God damn it, I love their writing team. Now, this new planet is actually a first and in a really exciting way because it features somewhat destructible urban environments.
I haven't actually tested the
map layouts. Honestly,
the destructible environment. Oh, actually, no, I guess technically, yeah, there's houses that explode from
long-awaited melee weapons and a
like
fast
airstrikes and
attack
stuff.
Jeep that was initially limited to being map pickups.
I haven't
and
tested the
then
Jeep
made
yet.
into a stratagem, basically like how
But
they
I did play
handled
this
maximum
mode,
launch.
like sorry,
And of course,
versus
new
I played
enemies
against
in the
Illuminate
form of the
for.
Illuminate, and I gotta be real.
I played against them for
they're
maybe
awesome.
3-4
They're
maps.
also hard. They play differently to the bots and the bugs. Basically, they've got these slow-moving, tanky zombies that are led by heavily armed and armored overseers, who are then backed up by floating scout probes, War of the World style walkers. I mean, the art just comes together.
This is only the like their initial force. because I believe even like on higher difficulty, you only get zombies, like regular zombies. Sorry, I call them zombies, but like, you know, regular mobs. Then you have these guys with shields. I believe there's a flying one with the jetpack, as well as that walking thing.
War of the World style walkers.
This thing, and I believe that's it. I haven't. I've only played on difficulty 6, I believe, but maybe there's something else. But if not, then that's totally fine. I assume there are more things coming, like perhaps we're actually, and then we're actually gonna get more and more difficult and different things coming up. That'll be very, very cool. I'm looking forward to that.
The art just comes together so well, and even some classic UFO inspired.
They have shields as well.
It is really awesome. They basically nail, I think, what enemy variety in games should be. One of the amazing things about Doom, yeah, I'm going all the way back to Doom, is in Doom. Its design is so genius because every single combination of different elements, enemies that is, leads to a very different pattern of gameplay for the player. They're not all just generic hitboxes, and certainly when it comes to Helldivers, that's got to be one of the things I respect most about their enemy design. Now, there's also great quality of life. You can rejoin missions after you've had a crash or a DC.
Ooh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay, reconnect to your last match. That's perfect. Balance changes, sure. Crash fixes, yep. Social media fixes, miscellaneous. Nice. Yeah, the reconnect to your last match is amazing because it's super. Like, I feel like it's a necessity in basically every single game that's ever existed, or like a multiplayer game, you know, because it's such a pain if you like gets dropped for a second, maybe even not due to your fault, due to a server or something, and then
fixed. And of course, there's a new war bond. This time it's featuring Spartan imagery. Yep, even down to the Frank Miller kick that was made very famous, along with new stratagems, new weapons.
Yeah, there's a melee spear now.
An electro spear with protective shields. Pretty awesome. And in short, in many ways, this was everything that people had been asking for months, wrapped up in a near perfect narrative package that channeled everything that made the launch of Helldivers 2, maybe, you know, bar the server problems, into basically a perfectly executed launch. And as you'll soon find out, there's a very direct tease and promise of more, because this patch is basically only just the first big drip from, I think, what's going to be a rather incredible time.
Just like I
said.
And
this led to brilliant numbers.
Oh, that's cool. So this is a, wait, is this a thing now?
From, I think,
where, armed resupply box. That's really cool. So it helps you as well as just gives you the resupply. That is very nice.
And this led to brilliant numbers.
Oh, it's a booster. Oh, that's cool. That's cute.
Current soared all the way up to a peak of 150k. Nice. They've actually held strong ever since. As an example, the current off-peak dip, which is a Monday morning, it's like where you're going to find the lowest Steam players. That dip is basically at or above the peaks that they were experiencing over.
It's kind of crazy. You went from 25 to like 70. Let me check right now, because right now is actually, at least the day I'm recording it on, it's 29th of December. And the video is already 10 years old. So let's see. Top seller, sorry, not top sellers, top most played. So, and Helldivers 2 is currently at 90,000 people. And the peak today was 98. So it's top 12 right now. Right under Baldur's Gate 3, Banana, Call of Duty, which is Black Ops 6 most likely, Palworld, GTA 5, etc. Yeah, damn, that's amazing. I'm really glad that they're what's it called? That there's a revival going on. But I just hope that there's no Sony account requirements, but I don't know. Sony's weird, so
over the summer,
can't really change
and they've actually had 20,000 reviews in the last 30 days with a positivity of 95%, which is absolutely god tier. But to understand basically why, how, and actually what's next, well, we've got to take a look at what the various developers have said when they spoke to the press. The first words come from their CCO, Johan Pilstedt, and it really is an interesting thing. We were all high off the idea of the 60-day plan, but the most hardcore players were a little bit concerned, and you could also say that some of the game design purists were also kind of concerned, because while the power fantasy was so much larger, in a way, some things were made a little bit less prescriptive, a little bit more generic. Most in fact, absolutely preferred that in gameplay, but for some people it did feel like the initial design vision had been watered down. And Johan kind of talked to that in the future of the game. He basically talked about how, with the 60-day plan, they softened their hard counter-based enemy and weapon design, making the game a bit less prescriptive and more of a power fantasy, and how that landed, but made high-level play substantially easier. Now, I think what's going to make a lot of the Helldivers people happy is what he kind of went on to say, that they didn't want to fix their problem of essentially difficulty and players are too powerful now. They didn't want to fix that, by rebalancing the automatons
Yeah,
and
just
the Terminids.
add more difficulty,
Basically,
I think,
they
no?
kind of thought, look, the automatons fight like automatons, the Terminids like Terminids, that's the way that they are. Rather, what they've done is they've made it so that the Illuminate are a little bit more there for the high-level players at the highest level of difficulty. Here's a direct quote from the man. I think we've sort of stopped trying to get the enemies to be perfectly balanced. Instead, the bugs are what the bugs are, and the automatons are what the automatons are, and the Illuminate follow the same
Yeah, I guess it makes
formula.
sense.
And he went on to say to PC Gamer that the Illuminate are a step towards the challenge that the highest of the high-end players, the people who really stuck around through all
Really
of
looking
it,
forward to
they
see what's going to
actually
come
want
out. Like
and
what kind
crave.
of
And
tech
so far,
or vehicles
that
or
actually is
whatever,
holding
like,
true. The Illuminate
like
are
super bosses gonna be.
bloody well humbling. The memes are mighty. I think the All Is Quiet in the Western Front one is definitely the one that hit me the hardest. So yeah, I think design
Actually,
achieved.
I mean, I don't know. They weren't too bad. At least the matches I've been playing. But I'm like level 15, maybe. But the people I've been matching up are like 40, 50, sometimes 115. So maybe that's why. Maybe they're just carrying their...
But it's not going to be only that. This is what's real exciting. So their production director Alex said that the next update might not focus on the same sorts of high-end players. What he said is actually really refreshing, and here is it captured by Games Radar. Quote, "You can't match everyone's needs. It's impossible to create the magic recipe that everyone will enjoy. That's why Omens of Tyranny is aimed at, quote, hardcore fans, and it's why Ericsson says that Arrowhead might mess up in the future again." And I do like that. It's them being humble. It's them understanding that they cannot have the magic patch that appeals to everybody. And I don't know about you, but in so many live service games that I have played, one of the things that hurts them the most is one-size-fits-all design, one-size-fits-all decision-making, such that you end up with a game that just ends up feeling more and more and more and more like slop. And not
it's like, do you focus towards the casual player? Do you focus towards the pros? And is there in between? So yeah, it's a lot of games are struggling with that.
Exactly the sort of thing that really
Helldivers is going to be good with
you. And that's why, again, with the Illuminate, I see a lot of bravery in this team. Because they shipped a hard, punishing enemy that requires a different way of thinking after all of the feedback and criticism that they got on how they were balancing the game and how the highest end of difficulty was. And they seem to have done that in a way that has landed with players. So not only is that brave, it's also goddamn impressive. Now, there is another angle to this. It's something that a few people are concerned about, so I should talk about it. The backbone of this live service, obviously, is money. How they're going to bring the money in, which is a totally fair, normal thing. And there has been a little bit of a change. So let's talk about that. Before I talk about a criticism, I've got to be really clear about the bedrock of this situation. It is much stronger than just about all the other live services. You can earn super credits via play, and war bonds
that's what I've been doing a lot,
which is amazing. Now, generally, it won't be feasible for most players to earn them all for free, but to be honest with you,
only level 15, and I believe I got 940 or maybe 840. So I'm very, very close to getting a 10,000 or sorry 1,000 points, which is like roughly $10 worth of micro suggestion / currency. And so I really want to get one of the sets, one of the like premium war bonds. That would be really cool. But yeah, I assume that what he's gonna say is that they're gonna focus on creating more armor sets / war bonds, so that people will not be able to have the chance to farm all of that. Like they'll basically, unless you're playing this game 24/7, you're not gonna have enough currency to actually get all of that with your in-game currency. So you have to buy it. So sometimes you can just pay $10, or let's say you're missing $5, you just do that and get a new war bond that you find really cool, and that's how you fund the game. I assume that will be the case, but let's see what he says.
With you, I don't think earning all of the war bonds for free is a particularly reasonable thing in a game that has an ongoing live service where the dev bills have to be paid for. I think they're fundamentally way better than the competition. But of course, we still do need to see how things change, because the war bonds are not the only purchase opportunity. There's the rotating in-game store that I have seen criticism of for pricing, but also that now features melee weapons in a way that does actually open the door for gameplay.
I didn't know. Is Laddima penetrating one-handed stun? I did not see that yet. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Oh, maybe also because the current thing I was looking at, the current store, was actually the Killzone 2 collaboration, so it just Killzone weapons. But those were pretty expensive though. Like the entire outfit plus the weapons, they're kind of like 200 plus for each. So That was not ideal, but
impacting items
you know,
to be
it is what
available
it is.
directly for real money in an instantaneous unlock fashion, which is different from being a part of the battle pass and unlocked via gameplay in the way that they previously exclusively had been. In this case, it's the stun baton. It costs a fifth of a war bond, and I'm not going to say that this is a smoking gun, and I'm not going to say that it's the introduction of pay-to-win mechanics into the game. But that said, you could take a look at it and think, oh, that's gameplay impacting. And it's also in the rotating store, which does mean there's an aspect of FOMO because it's going to rotate away soon. And it is people immediately accessing a new type of weapon. Now, some people could say that that's pretty good. It means you can just buy that if that's the only thing you want. You don't need to touch the war bond, but it is what it is. At this stage, I think all we have to do is take a look at it, take note of it, and then see how things
My wife said it's this or her. She'll be
A lot
she'll
of
be
people
missed.
have noticed that it is being talked about, so I thought it's worthy of mention in this video, especially because with so many upfront copies of Helldivers 2 being sold, a lot of their live revenue is just going to come from, of course, the super credits. Now, personally, I actually do expect that Arrowhead will go too far at a point. I do think that they will mess up. That's because they're human and they're probably doing their best within the incentives and pressures that they are facing. But based on their actions so far, based on how they did the 60-day plan, but still have the bravery to properly ship a tough as nails at the highest end of gameplay faction, I actually trust them to be receptive to feedback if they misstep on this. So what we're going to do for now is put a pin in that, and well, let's talk about the thing that I haven't told you yet. What's next and the way that they are developing this game's future. One of the obvious big things about live games is they always need to have the promise of future content so the players can frame their current time investment in a way where it seems like it makes sense as compared to other gaming places they could be putting their time. So there's always a big risk if you do a content drop like this, the players will go, they'll have a bit of a sugar rush, enjoy it, and then they'll think, what next? What's next for the game? Did they just blow their load? Well, on that front, it's actually quite interesting. We've got some news, and it comes via Mikhail Eriksson. He told IGN that what we have seen so far is the Illuminate Vanguard fleet. This is in fact not the full Illuminate faction, which to be honest is rather ingenious. In one way, you could look at this and think, well, if I was Activision Blizzard, I would be drip feeding it out so that I could get as much player engagement from the content that I make. You could say in a way that's true, but also I think it's unfair because of how they've been making this game. You see, with this, they can respond to the evolving player meta as they build the Illuminate faction. In a way, they're getting aspects and strengths of early access within their live service. One of the things that hits so many games is the development team has a fundamental design hypothesis. And then whenever the game comes out, you get to find out, was our hypothesis true or was it kind of
and
flawed?
you keep pushing the same way, it doesn't matter
Didn't do a great job of that at launch,
criticism or whatever.
is Diablo 4, and since its launch, we've seen D4 really move more in the way of Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls. The loot's a bit more plentiful, the gameplay pace has absolutely been moving in a faster direction, but here with the design of the player toolkit, with the design of enemies, they get to add things slowly, responding to player feedback, and they can always update their design hypothesis
it is a good idea
to always make sure that they're not about to ship a humongous costly mistake. And even better, they have structured their video game in a way where it all rolls into an ongoing story, such that as players, we're not sitting there thinking, there is a new
I love this, in this trailer, I kind of missed it the first time. There's the friendly fire here.
An ongoing story.
So you see the Warhog right here?
Such that as players,
it's trying to shoot right here.
we're not sitting there thinking, there is a new season every 9 weeks. There is a content cadence. It is rock solid. No, they actually get to grow their game naturally, and they've designed the narrative framework of their game to fit that, which is the fundamental genius of how Helldivers 2 has been set up. And the big point, it's a game that will not win off the back of any giant spikes. It's a game that will win by being continually engaging, like with, say, the Democratic Superstation. And I think this is a dev team that has really been through it far more than most. Can you imagine the emotional experience of having a launch so strong that it was,
the launch was freaking amazing,
a decade-defining industry event, at least for the 2020s, to then, very shortly, have a substantial slice of your player base actually turn on you?
Because they couldn't play. What do you want? Those people could not play the freaking game.
Think that your decisions are running counter to their interests, and then have that validated by plummeting metrics. I mean, the most painful lessons tend to be the ones that stick, and I think that's actually what happened here. And most notably, So many other developers will panic fix things and give people a sugar rush to make them happy immediately. This is a team that had the strength, the fortitude to actually slow down, to have their employees take their summer holidays and treat people reasonably. So
well, they're based in Europe, so it's kind of like done.
Pain
It's law there.
so
Unfortunately, you
could
can't
get things
go
right.
against it.
That's not maybe the most immediate.
So it doesn't matter if you're in crunch, I
as a
believe.
player who, like, in the here and now is angry, but as an overall way to build your live service.
I don't think I'll be going for this one yet. I think it's like Guerrilla Tactics.
You are actually doing things for the right of the overall game. That has
Guerrilla Tactics Warband. I'm going for the explosive crossbow one. I heard it's the best one. It looks
for
cool
how
too.
this team does things and how clearly they actually give a shit about their foundations.
Right,
and
there's a
not
throwing knife
just
as well.
short-term flash in the pan delivery for some corporate
What's
master.
that?
So, GG, the second my PC is fixed, I will be playing this game, and the only reason why I'm not playing it in my PS5 is because there is not cross-progression. I'm back. And
oh, there's no crossback? Really? Damn, that sucks. Feels bad, man. Yeah, that's the one thing they should probably focus on as well.
And, well, let me know if you are too. But
yeah,
of
thank you,
course,
Michael
there's
Bell.
always more content. There's always news to talk about, so check this out next.
Yes, guys. Oh,
in gaming, there.
Yes, guys. Please check him out. Bellular News. I'll put the link in the description as well. But yeah, so really looking forward to playing more of Helldivers 2. Hopefully the revel is real and more people like it, get the game, and enjoy it as much as they can. Looking forward to the future and what it holds. Alright guys, see ya. Bye.